Hi, good morning, everybody, and afternoon, depending on where you are in the country. Thank you for joining us today. This is Gina Wells at the Office of Workforce Investment in the Employment and Training Administration, and I'm joined here with the rest of the colleagues on my team and with our great TA partners over at Social Policy Research. I think we'll have an opportunity to introduce everybody very shortly. But in the meantime, I just wanted to welcome you to the call. Call the meeting to order and kick things off, get things started. So I think, Jonathan, if you could advance the slide, that would be great. So like I said, I'm joined here with my team, our regular cast of characters, Megan Lizick and Jonathan Payne. We also have Chris Allis with us today and Jeff Bryan. And we want to thank you for taking time to be with us. Some of you may have seen the updated meeting notice that went out last night alerting you to some changes in the agenda, but maybe not everybody has seen it, so I wanted to let you know right now that we're going to be taking a bit of a departure from what we had planned to do with our time together today. We have some really important updates about the timing of our institute and its contents that we want to share with you. So we've basically preempted your regularly scheduled technical assistance webinar, but we'll be rescheduling that and returning you to your regularly scheduled broadcasting after this call and for the balance of the year. Today, we wanted to provide you with an update about some what we think are pretty exciting changes that we're going to be making to the Institute that we hope will enhance that experience for you and bring some additional content and some pretty exciting engagement opportunities for you. But before I get to that, I do want to turn some things over to SPR to allow them to do some technical introductions and walk you through the logistics and how our online space works. We and SPR together work really hard to give you and your partners as much support as possible for your business engagement efforts. That's the reason that we're all here. So we hope that the information that we're going to share today is going to provide even greater support for you as you work towards your business engagement goals. Trace, are you there? Or Ahmad?
Hello, everyone. This is Ahmad Mansour, Project Manager on EBE. And I just wanted to say hello. I guess I can say good evening and good morning, or excuse me, good afternoon and good morning. So I'll just say that I'm just happy to be here again to work with you all. And even though we will not be moving forward with our, as Gina said, our regularly scheduled program, we're definitely here. We will be on the line and here to support DOL as our partners, and we look forward to what emerges today. So we'll be here for you. And before we go, I just want to say that the SPR team, we are looking forward to continued engagement at another time because our team has been working tremendously hard, and I just want to thank them while we're online. Trace Elms and Sam McCoy, Kristen Rummel, Vince Kohler, and Kristen Wolf. So we're here, and we look forward to this webinar, this web meeting. And I guess we should give you some idea of the technical support needs, and I think that Vince or Kristen will cue you in on that.
All right. Thanks, Ahmad. I'll be happy to just give you a brief reintroduction to the room. Many of you have been through these webinars before, and we're going to be quick about it. First of all, of course, if you get disconnected or if our room goes down, we'll send you via email a link to a new meeting space. And also, similarly, if we have technical issues with the phone lines, check your email inbox in case we need to update and go to a different phone line. That's just sort of an emergency precaution. You probably know about submitting questions in the chat room. The chat box to do that, well, there are two in this case. We have one to the left, typically for the kinds of things that you've already been entering, where you're from, what weather it is in your part of the country. We won't tell you what weather it is out here in California, not to make people too jealous. And then below, we will have some another chat box where you can respond to certain specific questions that come up. And you know how that works, I'm sure. And with that, I will turn it back over to Ahmad, I believe, for the agenda.
We're going to hand this over to Gina and her agenda.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Vince. Hopefully everybody is familiar with our webinar space at this point. I don't want to spend too much time on our agenda, just to let you know that we're going to be providing you with this all-important Institute update, and then we've got some discussion time planned and some focus on next steps. So I hope that you will engage with us and share some thoughts. We've got some what we hope are useful and good discussion questions to follow my Institute update. So let me just get right to it. So the news that we have to share is that the Expanding Business Engagement TA initiative and the Institute itself are generating a lot of excitement in ETA and at the department as a whole. We've had a series of really great conversations with our Assistant Secretary, with the rest of the ETA leadership team, and they have some exciting ideas about how we can use the Institute to boost your access to business, industry, and economic development leaders at this event and really infuse some of that perspective into our technical assistance to you as a whole. We're pretty excited about the direction that allows us to move in, but we do need a little bit more time to make that happen. And so we're pushing back the dates of the event to give us that time to introduce these additional elements. And so I just want to start off right now by apologizing for what I know is pretty inconvenient news. You guys have been flexible with us in the past, and we're asking for just a little more flexibility going forward so that we can get this event and the timing of this event just right. We know how busy you are, how busy your teams are, how challenging it is to get your business partners to the table, and we thank you in advance for your flexibility and understanding, and we want to let you know that we want to hear your challenges, we want to help you troubleshoot them, so that we can all get to the Institute and finally be together, which was our goal from the very beginning. The earliest dates we can consider for the Institute at this point, knowing that it won't happen at the beginning of December, are the weeks of January 7th or the week of the 14th, in the middle of that week. So we're working furiously right now to secure some space. And once we have that space secured, we'll be able to confirm those new dates with you. As soon as we have that information, of course, we'll be right back in touch with all the logistical information you'll need to be able to start putting your travel plans in place. In the meantime, the decision to cancel the meeting for the first week of December is firm, so if you were holding refundable hotel or travel reservations, feel free to release them at this time. I know, and we know, everyone here in SPR, that you and your teams have been hard at work on your goals and your strategic plans, and I know this isn't the Institute schedule that we had originally laid out for this initiative, but we're really committed to working with you to make your Institute and grant experience as valuable and transformative as possible. So I hope that you know that we're going to be continuing to work with you all across the life of your two-year grants, and we'll be regularly in touch with you between now and the date that the Institute is finally scheduled for. To that end, and in terms of kind of providing this continuous support, we want to spend the rest of our time today talking about some of your critical project components and get your thoughts as we work on this revised Institute agenda. So, specifically thinking about these enhanced opportunities to be in touch with business, industry, and economic development leaders. Megan and Jonathan are going to lead you through some discussion questions about sort of where you are in your projects and what you think would be most valuable, so that we can customize that approach, keeping in mind what best meets your needs. So we're also going to spend some time talking about how we can support you and how you can support each other in keeping the momentum going in the meantime. We're very interested in hearing your thoughts. But first, before we do any of that, I want to open the phone lines. I know this is a lot of information to digest very quickly, and we want to take any questions that you have. If you are a typer, we will take your questions over the chat feature. If you are a talker, we will take your questions over the phone line. So Ahmad and Trace, if you would let us know whether the lines are open, the folks will know that they can start asking their questions. that sounded like the telltale beep of an open phone line. So go ahead. If you have questions and you want to ask them over the phone, chime in. If you want to type a question in, go ahead and do that. We'll just give you a couple minutes.
What do you plan on covering in this webinar?
In this webinar today, our primary goal is to share the news that I've just shared with you. As soon as we finish this little round of Q&As, we're going to open up some chat rooms to talk about the current work you're doing around employer and industry engagement and economic development engagement, and how we can utilize these potentially sort of expanded set of resources at the Institute to help you meet those goals, and sort of how you would like the Institute to help support you in those areas. And then we're going to review the existing resources that are there to support you and talk about ways to keep the momentum going.
We're not muted. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other big picture questions or comments at this time?
I don't know if it's a big question, picture, or whatever. It's Ken Messina.
Hi, Ken.
How you doing? You guys kind of threw us a little curveball here, huh? But that's all right. Hey, bottom line is that I'm just wondering the quarterly report, and they're due on the 14th. And I know that, you know, most of the expenditures are probably going to go towards travel for people to and from the Institute. And since we haven't incurred any travel yet and haven't probably spent any of the money, I mean, we do a lot of our business engagement, and I think you saw the flow chart that I sent up for the presentation today that we're not doing. We've spent a lot of time on this thing and really engaged a lot of people and a lot of partners, but haven't spent any money on that. So just a little curious on what you're looking at or what you expect for the quarterly report on the financials and that.
Sure. I think Megan and Jonathan have sent you sort of a suggested format for the quarterly report. And, you know, this is going to be, you know, with grants this small, of course, you have hardly spent any money at this point. So from a sort of accounting for your dollar standpoint, you probably don't have a lot to say. But we did offer you the opportunity to talk to us about your progress against your strategic plans, which we will use that information to report back to our leadership about this initiative, and then to help move towards sort of the final report that will be done for this 2-year project.
And just coming back on that, when you do say, yes, it was just a small grant, and I think it probably echoes with all the folks that received it, where this is probably one of the most important things that anybody can be doing, obviously, in their state and in the country right now, and linking all of the activities around business engagement. Is DOL going to be offering any future grants, probably more sizable, to try and expand upon this?
Well, I can't speak to our future funding availability right now, but, you know, I can say that this is a topic that is incredibly important all the way up the chain, and, you know, should something become available, we would certainly let the system know about it as soon as it did.
Okay, thank you.
And we agree that this is one of the most important things that you guys can be doing. Okay, so Oklahoma has chimed in with a preference for the week of January 14th, and actually, if you have a preference, we'd love to hear it. So do share if you know, it's our goal to pick a time that accommodates everybody, if we at all possibly can. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah. This is Roxanne in Ohio. My question is, we understood you to say that there's been more interest or expanded interest in this particular project from a number of different directions. I'm just wondering what kind of interest and what the focus of that interest is in terms of this project. Has the scope expanded? Are we looking at broader partners?
So I think the interest is, you know, a recognition from the very highest levels of the agency and the department that business engagement is the absolute critical component to workforce development success right now, and an encouragement for us to leverage that that value and excitement that's happening, or, you know, that emphasis that's happening all across Washington, to be able to use this institute as a way to put you guys in the same room as some really great business and economic development thought leaders from across the country. So what we're working on is adjusting the agenda for that institute to give you guys that opportunity to engage with those partners. The institute model, of course, is always one that prioritizes strategic planning for your teams themselves, and no adjustments that we make to the agenda will compromise that. Our top priority is to give you guys that focused working time to continue to expand your goals. But we want, every institute complements that working time with peer-to-peer interaction and some exciting learning opportunities, and it's those pieces of the agenda that we'll be working on taking to the next level.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Ken again, piggybacking on that great comment from Ohio. I'm just wondering, again now, that kind of triggered something. Have they made maybe, or are they going to make some more partnerships with some serious big business or whatever it is to probably have them speaking with us at the Institute? Is that what some of this is thinking of?
Yeah, we are hoping to have some great employers there for you guys to be talking with. Each of you has employer and industry representation on your team that you'll be bringing to the Institute, and in a few minutes we want to open up some chat to talk about, who are you currently engaging and what would make the most sense for you, what would be the most exciting and most valuable for you when you're here at the Institute in terms of industry and employer engagement. So if you've got somebody in mind, hold your thought for a second, and we'll be excited to hear it from you. Karen Hoops has asked through the chat, when do we expect to have the final date for the Institute? It always takes us a little bit of time here to work through conference services to nail down a date where we can get, because we need so many rooms for you guys to do your strategic planning, but we are hoping in the next couple of weeks to be able to get you a final date. Nailing down the date is our top priority so that you guys can work with your teams and start thinking about your travel plans. Seems like a lot of people are liking the week of January 14th as opposed to the week of January 7th for the meeting. So yes, of course, now here's a comment. So the other thing about trying to have a meeting in January 2013 in the capital of our country is that there'll be an inauguration. So we won't be having, we won't be planning our meeting around the dates of the inauguration. It's the 21st. The 20th or the 21st. So anyway, we'll be thinking about hotel availability and cost of plane tickets before we pick a final date.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ohio's worried about that.
No worries. There will be no tent camping required.
I mean, we could always go to California.
Go to Oakland.
Innovative idea. Okay, any other questions before we move on to some great chats? If another question, this is the opportunity for questions, and if one does occur to you, you can, just type it into the chat, and we'll get to it at the right time, or know that we'll meet in about 20-25 minutes. We'll open the phone line back up for questions. Okay, great. So, thank you everyone for receiving this news in good spirits. And what I'm going to do now is turn the phone line over to Jonathan Payne. And he's going to introduce the discussion portion of our agenda today.
Great. Thanks, Gina. Hi, everybody. This is Jonathan. So, like Gina says, we have some big, exciting changes coming down the pipeline for the EBE initiative and for the Institute itself. And so, even though we've changed the agenda for this call at the last minute, we've still put together some robust discussion points that we'd like to pose to you and to get your input and feedback on as a way of even further refining what the Institute will have in store for you. So with that in mind, it's important that as this Institute continues to evolve, that your priorities and your team goals remain the driving themes for the initiative. And so with this larger scope of engagement from the business community, other federal agencies, their business partners, we'll be looking more and more to you and your teams for greater involvement in the planning and the design of the Institute, such as specific industry focuses, opportunities for you and your team to highlight promising practices or to have some shared collaboration around some challenges. We also sort of hope this call and any discussions that come off of it are there's a good jumping off point for you to have some peer-to-peer engagement with your colleagues on the call here. We see this peer-to-peer engagement as a critical part of the initiative and the Institute. We want you to come to the Institute with maybe a little bit of background on each other's teams already and some shared thoughts that you're looking to develop in person. And so we hope you welcome this opportunity today to interact with each other just as much as with us today. Yeah. So with that in mind, though, we don't want, since with the change in the Institute, we don't want this to sort of delay your business engagement strategies on the whole. We hope you're still moving forward with them and that this Institute will become just more of a complement to your existing strategies and just a way to dive deeper into them in the coming months. So with that, we're going to move on to our first discussion question here, which will be on team composition, and I'll let Megan speak to this one.
Jonathan, hi everybody, this is Megan Lovick. And just to echo what Gina and Jonathan have been talking about, we are posing this question to you in light of the fact that we've been given this opportunity to deepen our engagement with industry as we work on creating the most meaningful Institute experience that we can. And to that end, we are going to be talking on our upcoming FPO and grantee calls later in November who specifically are on the EBE teams. But we'd like to get, during this time, your specific input on how you are ensuring business involvement on your team and in your strategic planning for this grant, and specifically if you have industry sectors that are represented with your team. We'd very much like to hear which directions you're moving in and which industries or sectors that you're engaging. So you can go ahead and feel free to type those into the chat. Yes, thanks, Tanya. The calls we are targeting for mid to late November. Jonathan and I are going to be scheduling those with you in the very near future. As Gina mentioned, since the Institute has been and continues to be our top priority, we haven't had a chance to do that yet, but it is also a very high priority for us to get those scheduled with you and to design the best conversation that we can have at that time with you guys. So stay tuned, and you should see something coming from us shortly, and we're looking forward to speaking with you.
So just to continue with what Megan said, we know with the several changes to the Institute date, it's going to be hard to get specific people nailed down for the dates of the Institute. But if you have organizations or industries or businesses that have committed to sending a representative, we'd appreciate some feedback on who they are, what sectors they come from, so that in designing the Institute, we can get the right people in the room to talk to you.
Sure, and I mean, to give it some context, you know, if we are going to bring some industry associations and employers to the table, you know, we want those to be industries and employers that line up with the critical work that you're doing. So to the extent that you have particular sectors that you're focusing on or particular areas where you would want to hear more insights from people, that's the kind of thing that we're looking for. And, you know, while we're on this general topic of conversation, if there's a particular you know, can't promise anything, but if you had an employer in mind who you thought, wow, yeah, I would really love to hear from them, let us know now.
Hello, this is Ken Messina.
Hi, Ken.
How you doing? Hey, I just had a comment on that. you know, obviously we all deal with businesses every day on, you know, sectors, large sectors, the healthcare industry, all the ones that people are putting in here. But the bottom line is that when we designed our business engagement plan, and you saw the map out or whatever it is, I didn't get a chance to explain it, it's really important for us to make sure that we have our act together before the businesses are engaged in this so that they see that we're a well-oiled machine. I mean, like I say, we engage businesses every single day, but as far as pulling them into our plan here, we had our meetings up front with all of the partners around the table, economic development, workforce development, you know, education, so on and so forth. We aired out a lot of the differences, tried to air out a lot of the coordination issues, the communication issues, the confidentiality issues. That's where, you know, we were in the process of doing all of that and then assign certain committees. Now, business, as we've been going out and even individually engaging them as well as engaging large groups, we're pulling them in now because we didn't want to pull them in and have them in the room as people look disjointed, you know what I mean? Because the bottom line is that if you're doing a good business engagement plan and you want everyone clicking on the same 8 cylinders, there's some stuff we really have to work on to make sure the coordination looks good, because that's crucial, as we all know, in engaging businesses, so we look like we're all working together more, you know. So we on purpose did this as steps, you know, towards our business engagement plan.
Absolutely, and I do want to say for the other teams that are on the line, we did ask Massachusetts and Montana to prepare a presentation for today, which we've preempted for this call, but that does not mean that we won't be bringing you those presentations very shortly. We are going to reschedule, you know, the substantive TA sort of activities. We're looking to do that during either the 5th or 6th of December. And so we'll send out a revised webinar invitation, and then you'll get to hear more about this great work that Ken is talking about here. And we definitely, Ken, we definitely hear what you're saying in terms of doing doing your homework and getting the house in order before bringing employers and business to the table. And it looks like some other teams have taken a similar approach. So I think I would also add, you know, if there is sort of a different type of consultant or thought leader that you would like to see at the Institute, feel free to share that as well. And I think it would also be great, Ken or others, if you're thinking about this, if you have some specific thoughts about what will be the right way to engage employers, business, and industry at the Institute, we'd like to hear that as well. You know, you will be bringing someone from that group with you and your team who want those people to have a really positive experience as part of your teams and as part of the Institute as a whole. So if you have some thoughts about specific roles or opportunities, please feel free to share them. And we hear some typing, so so Megan, I don't know. I'm definitely seeing it. You know, if of course you guys are all approaching this a little differently. Some of you have sort of specific industries as part of your team. Some of you are casting a wider net or at a different phase in your project. I'm definitely just looking at those of you that have shared some industry sectors here that we're seeing: manufacturing, healthcare, energy, aerospace, construction, and IT, I think. Oh, and the military, too. That's really interesting. A couple more people are typing. We'll just give it a minute, and then we'll move on to our next question, Megan.
Yep.
Okay, great. Well, while we continue talking, we want to continue on this theme about sort of the people you've already done some outreach with, and now want to focus on sort of the rest of the business community, specifically around small businesses. So in terms of the business community of your state, how connected is your team to other economic development activities in your state? And how specifically have you engaged some small businesses, maybe within the sectors you've already mentioned, maybe some councils or boards in your state? Any other industry associations involved with your efforts? Again, being as specific as you can to the organization, not necessarily individuals. And then finally, if, for instance, if NIST, any of their manufacturing networks are involved in your state's efforts.
I think this is also a great time if you're, if you have sort of a specific entrepreneurship or small business component to the work that you're doing as part of this initiative. You know, if you can share sort of some thoughts about that, or some ways that the Institute might be able to help you go a little deeper or take that activity to the next level. It looks like several of you are typing in now, so we'll give you a chance to bring those comments. And again, if you want to speak up on the phone, feel free to do that as well.
Wow, it really looks like there's a lot of activity going on and a lot of meetings. That's really exciting to us. In Colorado, Karen, I see you're talking a little bit about the governor's blueprint. So looking at how your state plan is going to align with, or how your business engagement efforts are aligning under the governor's plan and your state plan. That's great.
I see, Mike, in Indiana, you're accessing many of the small businesses in your state through the Indiana Manufacturing Association. That's helpful to know. Oh, and Rick, your comment about sort of the role of telework and increased bandwidth in rural areas and the impact that's having on business engagement, that's very interesting. I wonder if anyone else is looking at that angle.
And Beth, we see your comment about social media to engage business as well. That's really exciting.
And definitely something that we were planning on. I know a lot of you are looking for thoughts on good social media strategies to use.
Great. Thanks everybody for your very thoughtful feedback. I think this seems like a good time to go to our next question. Since you guys have shared a lot of the information that you'd like to help inform the Institute in terms of your partners and industries, we want to have some additional discussion around your Institute planning. And we've got some questions here about what information from business would be helpful for you to hear about at the Institute or in the economic development community or other federal investors. So we'd like to throw an additional question out there with a blank, and if you'd like to answer that, you can as well. And that's, I'd be really pleased to bring my partners to the Institute if I knew we were going to blank. So just a few different questions out there. Feel free to let us know your thoughts. We're all ears.
And feel free also, if you have participated in some other Institute-style meetings, if you have a particular component of those meetings that you have found particularly valuable, or that you would want to, or that was lacking in past Institutes that you would want to see more of, feel free to share that here as well. And of course, being here in Washington, D.C., we always have tremendous access to our federal partners for meetings like this. We had some plans already in place to engage our federal partners in the Institute, but if you have particular federal partners that you would like to learn more about, get to know, network with while you're here, please let us know that. For example, if building relationships with the Small Business Administration or the Department of Commerce with some of their competitive economic development programs would be of value to you, please let us know. And I want to boost Ken's and Norca Diesler-Shannon's request for peer-to-peer TA there, asking what types of tools are your teams using to bring employers and to assist them through the business cycle. Okay, so we're hearing some calls with sort of SHRM and Chambers of Commerce as organizations that have some representation here in Washington, D.C. How can we engage employers and job seekers with mobile technology, which was a big theme at the Direct Employers Conference a few weeks ago. A reminder about the importance of the agriculture sector, which, yes, so important. We just finished a big review of the Workforce Investment Act state plans, and we're really impressed with the level of just the role of agriculture in economies across the country and the interesting stuff folks are doing to support them. Christina from New Jersey, thank you for your comment. Speaking specifically about prominent thought leaders in specific industries that would demonstrate a clear return on investment for the industry leader participant. That's exactly what we're wanting and planning to do.
And Tanya, it looks like you have a similar question, so we're hearing you loud and clear there.
In regards to your comment there about serving small businesses, if you have, if you want to, riff on that a little bit, or if others have some thoughts specifically about what aspects of that that space you would want to discuss while you're here in Washington, that would be great. Serving small business can mean a lot of different things, from helping them with our basic, employment exchange to connecting them with financing and investors and strategies to help them grow. Karen, I really like your comment there about the question about how we aggregate data from businesses to determine our impact to the business. I think that that's a great question and would create some really lively discussion at the Institute. And Tanya, I see your comment about successful one-stop shops for employers. I know that several states have tackled that question, in terms of integrating the variety of business services that are provided in agencies across the state. I think there are definitely some great best practices that could be shared. And great comment from Rick, thinking about how to engage local economic development folks in the whole workforce question. Christina, thanks for weighing in from New Jersey. That sounds like a great learning opportunity in terms of how to access that data and mine it for continued engagement with employers. Okay, so I think our chat is dying down. This has been tremendously helpful for us, and I hope for each other. We always love it best when you guys start talking to each other in the chat. That's when we know that we are, getting to a really good place. So I want to remind you that, as always, we will get you the information that you've shared in this chat back out to each other, because sometimes it's hard to track the whole conversation and identify that person that you want to follow up with. We'll definitely get that to you. We will also, following this call, do some thinking about how we can better connect you to each other, since, at the Institute itself, you would, of course, have an opportunity to meet each other, but what can we do to better help you guys communicate between now and then? We do have our LinkedIn site, but perhaps there are some other ideas. So we'll do some thinking and get back to you on that. I like the virtual bow. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next question. But please know that we'll be working on refining this agenda over the next several weeks. So if you have some additional ideas that come to mind, if we get off the phone today and you have that one bright thought that you want to share, please get in touch with Megan and Jonathan and send it to us.
And so for our final discussion question today, we just wanted to open it up a little bit broader and hear just about your progress on your overall strategic goals. What progress have you made over the fall? We realized that some of you have held meetings, some of you had a lot of wheels in motion, and we appreciate that, and we'd love to hear what you've done so far. And for those that were involved, and we know not everybody was involved in the state planning process, but for those that were involved in that, if you had any takeaways from that back and forth with the national office and your regional offices that informed your EBE strategies, or if they were a prominent part in your state plans, we'd love to hear about that.
And also just building on what Jonathan is saying, I think, we're asking you what progress you've made. I think we're about to have a number of ways in which we're collecting this information. So our upcoming FPO calls with you will be, delving further into the progress that you've been making and the activities you've been making, as well as understanding what challenges you've been encountering and how we can further assist you. To the extent that you also have upcoming events or want to share early wins that you've been experiencing with your peers and us on the chat right now or on the phone, we'd love to hear that. Or if you have some experience using our companion guide framework or other tools that we've had available, we're interested in hearing all of this kind of experience.
And this is an opportunity for you to cheer each other along in terms of, how can you keep that momentum going over the next couple of months. So if you have words of wisdom or great strategy or a great idea to share with each other about how to keep this momentum going, please share it now.
So just to Pamela's point, we know that a lot of you are coming at this from different angles, with different experiences, with different situations in your different states. And so where Pamela is saying that they're still refining goals and objectives, I think that we'd just like to promote out to you guys that many stages of development are, good, and that we're here to be working with you at whatever your current state is and to help you along in those ways. So, whether you're still identifying and targeting your needs, or whether you've had a lot of meetings and you know where you're wanting to go and you're trying to springboard, that's the sort of thing that we're trying to get to on calls like today, and then again with the FPO calls that we'll be having in a few weeks.
And to speak to Laura's comment there, it sounds like they're in the middle of a big reorganization, and we really see the Institute as some place, a forum where Laura and her team can, get some feedback from other states and maybe some organizational practices or best practices around their state strategies. So that's the kind of feedback we'd be looking for you to get from each other, and we'd be really excited to see how that develops.
And Norca, Disla, Shannon, and Ken, it's great to hear, some tidbits from Massachusetts today. I just wanted to echo what Gina was saying earlier. I know you guys put a lot of work and time into developing your mini presentations for today, and we certainly want to revisit those and highlight and cheer you on with those efforts.
Hey, one thing, this is Ken again. I think that, again, I understand we're all in this thing together, and I think that one of the ways that I would like to see, anyway, are assistance from the other states that are doing this is any of the wins that we have, the examples of, saving a company, lay off a version, company growth because of our business engagement and engaging all of the partners around the horn, I think would help me as well in selling the program and any of our people that are selling the program in the field. So I think that anything that we can share or anyone that has any examples of companies that they've had some really serious something good to say about because of pulling all the partners together, I think that's going to go a long way for all of us.
Yeah, we totally agree, Ken. I mean, it's really about these shared practices that's going to make this institute tick. And like Gina said, we want to really encourage this sharing between all the states and all their teams. We don't need to be a part of all those conversations. So any way we can help encourage that peer-to-peer sharing of the wins or of challenges, maybe mutual problems, and how they can resolve them, that's going to be the essence of this initiative.
Great. Thank you.
Great. Well, we'll move on from there. Thanks so much, everybody, for all of the great feedback on the progress that you guys are making and how you're keeping the momentum going forward. I think Jonathan and I are very excited to get your reports in and read them, as well as speak to you in a few weeks. So we'll continue the conversation then. So now we just wanted to take a minute here and remind you guys of some new and upcoming, as well as some existing resources. And so I'd like to turn it over to some of my other ETA colleagues to walk a little bit through some exciting new things happening.
Hey everybody, this is Jen Troke. Hope you are doing well. Thanks for all the input. It's been exciting to see and read what's happening in the chat. I'm going to keep this really short. I'm just reminding everybody about our website that is especially for business engagement, which is businessengagement.workforce31.org. And the site currently has a curriculum focused on electronic tools that we know employers like all sort of electronic job fairs, social media, labor market information, and a whole host of other tools, job description writer. So I think many of you have already checked that out, and many of you have joined the LinkedIn community, which can easily be found at the top of the page. The screen that you're looking at right now is the brand new curriculum that's already been road tested by Texas and by Colorado. And so business service reps and others who serve business really on the front lines have road tested a whole series of modules here. Each one of these modules will be, they have a companion facilitator guide. They have nice Breeze recordings to go with them. And again, they're road tested. So I've told you guys about these before. I'm urging you once again to check them out. These particular modules are being loaded on the site, and the great news is that we've created a tab just for you all. We had hoped to have it ready today. We anticipate it'll be ready next week. We'll send you a special email when that goes live. And so you guys are going to have a place to, one, look at all this great content, but two, just to keep abreast of all the developments going on with this particular initiative. So stay tuned. Please bookmark this as one of your favorite sites, and we would love for you guys to start talking with each other, too, on the LinkedIn community. So thanks, Gina, and thanks, Meg, and thanks, Jonathan.
Great. Thank you so much, Jen. All right, so now just wanted to recap what a few other resources, including what Jen was just talking about. So this Community of Practice on Workforce 3.1, the website that she was just highlighting, where the existing as well as the new modules that were on the screen a minute ago are going to be posted. They're there along with a host of other tools and resources for you. We also are encouraging you to jump on the LinkedIn community to continue this and other discussions. It's a great place to meet with your peers, as well, people that are involved in this initiative as well as others in the workforce system, to start conversations and to ask difficult questions and find resources and other promising practices within the industry. So don't forget to check those out. And then additionally, I just wanted to circle back here and remind you all of the companion guide that was handed out after our October webinar, as well as the framework that we started to discuss on our last web meeting with you all. I know that as far as the framework itself goes, we went through the first two elements, and the next two elements we were planning to discuss today. But like Gina mentioned, we know that content is important to you, and we would love to talk more about it and walk you through that in a discussion that will happen soon. But in the meantime, don't forget that the companion guide is out there, and it does have a lot of the information and some thought questions that you can use to start thinking through some of your maybe more difficult challenges or thought-provoking challenges, or if you're just looking for a place to try to help you get started on answering a difficult question, it has a lot of that information in there for you. So just wanting to draw your attention back there. So with that, we are wanting to open the floor back up for any additional questions that you might have come up with during the course of our discussion today, that you may have thought since we were speaking to you earlier or throughout the discussion. You can feel free to use the phone lines or the chat box, whether you're a typer or a talker. All lines are open for you. Okay, it looks like we don't have any questions coming in right now. I would just like to remind you all that Jonathan and I are here for you if you have questions that come up in the meantime before the FPO and state grantee calls are scheduled. Feel free to reach out to us. And then also just a reminder that the quarterly reporting is coming up soon. I know we've been talking about it a little bit, but just to remind you that there are two different reports that are due. One is the financial report that you submit through the eGrant system, and the other one is the program narrative. So finally, Gina had mentioned earlier that we are trying to rework some of the time that we've asked you to reserve on December 5th and 6th with some substantive TA and next steps. So we will also be letting you know how we propose using that time in the near future. But thanks again for your understanding and your flexibility today. We are all working together to try to get you guys the very best and most meaningful experience that you can, and your feedback is going to go a long way towards making that a reality and carrying out the vision that you all have laid out through your implementation plans, as well as the one that our Assistant Secretary is excited to bring to life. So with that, we would just like to say thank you. And Ahmad and Jonathan and my contact information is here. If you have any questions, you can feel free to get in touch with us. And thank you all for taking time out today.
And we'd certainly encourage you to get in touch with each other. Feel free to share your contact information here. If you'd like to follow up with somebody on another team after this call, we definitely want to encourage that peer-to-peer engagement, as Ken was saying, especially. And also the LinkedIn community, of course.
And we will be sending out this information from the web meeting today with all this great information so that you guys could share it with each other.
Okay, so with that, we'll conclude this webinar. We'll leave the chat line for a little bit longer if anybody needs to continue typing or sharing their contact information. But thanks to everybody for dialing in. Have a great week.